Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nichols-Boyle, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about more things to do with Wix and give you a little bit more detail. It seems to me that after looking through the discussion and people's comments on the Wix issues and tips, that the biggest thing that people are having a problem with is figuring out how to insert documents naturally into the site, which is the biggest issue because we want it to look like it should for a website and not just have a long document or resume. We want it to be optimized for the site. So I'm going to show you how to do that and also how to work with links a little bit more. I've been seeing some issues with that and inserting anchors if you want, like we did in the client project. So if you have a long page and you want to make sure they can get to different sections, you can do that as well. And then a little bit with maybe how to work on optimizing and polishing a few things like the social media buttons and the giving image credit, changing the copyright, and that kind of thing. All right, so first of all, a few things about inserting documents. So I'm talking about things like your writing samples, if you have an essay you wanted to include, or a project, or even your blog, or your resume. How do you insert that and make it look natural and fit in with the document? How do you link to the full document instead of just putting it in there? So I'm going to look at a couple of examples first of different ways you can do it. And these are all, I think, mostly in the samples. So this is one of the student samples you have here. This is a person who was going to apply for film school. So you can see that she had a couple of different things here. In the writing page, for example, she had these quotes throughout, so this helped brand her. So she has the different sections: fiction, screenwriting, poetry, articles, and blog. And you can see for each of these, she has samples. So if you click on the samples page, she has created different buttons and headings here that have the name of each of the writings that she wants to include and a little bit about them. You might have a little bit more description than this, but if you click on each of these, then it will take you to the full document, which you can do by just uploading it in your Wix and linking to it there, and I'll show you how to do that. Other writing ones, she also has her articles in here. So if you look for article samples, those were short stories. Again, promotion for Indiana University South Bend Film Studies a minor, studying through a different lens. And this was her website article. Okay, so this is just one way you can do it. And she also had her blog in here as well. And for this one, which I highly recommend, she did a screenshot of it and then still did a little description and a link to it. You can also have the picture itself linked to the blog. So that's another good idea. Okay, another little bit more creative way, that's pretty creative as well, is showing for a resume. She also has a resume in hers as well, but she did not link to the printable version, but did a nice job on highlighting the most important information. This is actually, if you go in your module, you can see how it changed from the rough draft to the final draft. So that's nice as well. Okay, so this is a resume. So this is how she put it in. Many of you have chosen a similar format. Has her summary of qualifications and skills, some international experience to put here, work experience, education. And you notice that she has some links in here, like visit my education page for further information. You can go to that. And the education then gives more details about that because she didn't want to make it too long. She could also have created anchors as well. And then in both of these pages, she also has a printable resume. So then if you click on printable resume, it goes to her printable resume. And you'll notice that she tried very hard to make this coherent. So the same kinds of colors and design that she used in her website, she used on her resume as well. So it's nice to have it all be part of a package like that. And still, even in the printable resume, she didn't give all the contact information here, which you don't have to do. If you make it a PDF, it's a little bit easier not to grab, just for privacy's sake. So that's another thing to think about. And then She also has a projects page that includes some of her publications and media analysis. So I wanted to show you, this is a little different, more creative way maybe of putting in some of your writing samples. So she created basically a slideshow, and all of these things in here, if you just start anywhere, are parts of her blog that she just screenshotted and made screenshots and then inserted them as images in the slideshow. So you can kind of go through, and she zoomed in and read some different examples there. So she made them into pictures by doing the screenshots into JPEGs. And then then she has a little description here, The Color for College Girls, a fashion blog. Again, a little bit about it, link to it here and to here, so you can go to the exact blog as well. And then other examples, this is another blog. This was editing of a yearbook. So that goes through and shows some examples, and then also a description of each of those. Okay. And that's about it in terms of that. Those are some pretty good examples. This one is called a flip snack. I put this in the uploaded, if anyone wants to mess around with the advanced multimedia. So this is a flip snack. You can create this. She also used mind maps, which I put in there too. And you can hear the page sound goes with it as well. And then you put in your own images, in word maps, and it comes into a nice little picture book type feel. Okay. So that's a creative writing portfolio, and then a description of it here, and some links to different things as well. All right, so how do we do all this? All right, so I'm going to take you through how to do a couple of these different things and effectively incorporate. So for one, when you want to put in some information, I'll go to the books page here. This one is a little bit better in terms of looking like this would be a good example. If you had, say, a couple different projects, you could lay it out something like this, where you had, say, an image here, a screenshot if you were doing your blog, for example, or if it was just a paper, maybe you wouldn't have a picture, you just have, say, the name of it and a description, and then a read more button, something like that. So let's see if I was doing this for my blog. I would want to insert an image. So first I would go into Add and Image. And I'm going to go to Image Uploads because I uploaded a screenshot of my blog earlier. So I think I'll choose, which one does better? I think maybe this one's a little bit more zoomed out here, and add that to my page. All right, so it's far too big. And people have been talking about having some difficulties with adjusting this. So for one, I want to first get this image out of the way. And if I want to, I can just cut this. So I want the image to be over here. You can do a couple of things. You can just drag the corners and play around with it to resize. I like the crop option because this is bigger than I want anyway. So I'm just going to play around with cropping it to where I want it to go. About there. Okay, something like that. So we'll start with that. Still a bit bigger than I want, so I can keep working with it and make it smaller. Just drag. I think something around there would be perfect. And then I'd want to edit the text to explain this a little bit more. So edit text, and I just make this the title of my blog, say Writing for the Web. And then I would describe a little bit about it here. This blog, oops. I want it to be a heading. I want to go back into paragraph there. This blog describes my class activities, conversation starters, etc. So I would give a little bit of information here. Notice, again, whatever you do, Wix does not have a spell check. So if you have issues, it's not going to catch it. So what you should do really is just copy this, Control-C or Command-C if you have a Mac, and paste it into a Word document so that you can see any issues that you have. All right. This is paragraph 2, so make that match. If I wanted to have this be the same. Okay. All right, so something like this, and I would have a nice little description of it. And what I would probably want to do is 2 things. One, I might want to, just in case people click on it, I think I'll link my image to my blog. So if I click on the image, I can just click the link button here. And I want it to go to a web address. And I would just paste in the address of my blog, which I had up earlier, and open it in a new window always, and then done. So that's going to link right to my blog. And then I'll probably want to link the title to my blog or do a read more button, something like that. But maybe I'll just link the title. So if I go back into edit text, I can just highlight and then link here. And again, I go to a web address, have it open a new window. Now, one of the issues with links, so for most of the templates, it will just automatically underline and that indicates a link. If you like to use underlines in other ways or have it stand out more, like be a different color, which is generally a good idea for a link, Wix doesn't make it easy to do this, but you can do it. So what I would do here is this is what my link is going to look like generally. It might not be obvious to everybody that that's a link because often a title would be underlined anyway. So what you would want to do is change the color of the link manually. And you would have to go through and manually change all the colors of your links, which is a pain, but it's worth it, I think. So you just go into the color, and then maybe all my links are going to be that color, something like that. Whatever I want it to be. Okay, so all my links are going to be that color. And again, if you want more colors than what they add, you just hit add colors and just scroll around until you get the color that you want. Well, maybe I like that color better. And just make sure that you remember what that color is. Here's the hex code, so you could just paste that in the next time. Okay, so add. And then I think I don't want it underlined because I don't think it needs it if that is going to be the color of all my links. All right, so that's a little bit with linking, getting it in there. And then let's say I also wanted to do, or for a different kind of function, I wanted to add a button or read more, or even for my resume, right? I could just do printable resume or print here or just something like that. So you can just, of course, have the words printable resume that link to your printable resume, but you can also make it a button as well. So if you want to add a button, they already have one here, but I'll show you the process. You just go to add and button. Again, you can choose any style you want. Doesn't matter what it says because you can change the text. So maybe I like this, I think the rounded one maybe, or kind of like the look of size of this one here. I will go to this one. I like this one. Okay, so I'll just stick this. Use your line up things to make sure that it's aligned correctly with different things, like that. And then I would want to go in, change the text. So if I wanted this to be like, say, to like to do printable resume. Now you notice, for one, it says resume instead of resume, right? So how do we fix that? Because we want it to have the accents. Well, here's the easiest way to do it. There might be a way to do this with Mix, but I find it easier just to cut and paste. So go into a Word document and misspell resume, maybe with 2 E's, resume like this. And look, it has a spell check. If I just do my right click, there's resume. And then I'm just going to copy this, Control-C. And then when I get back in here, I'll just paste it in, and there we go. I have my accents. If you have a resume that you need to have the capital E with the accent, it's a little bit more difficult. It doesn't do this with spell check. What you have to do, and this is a slow way, is go into Insert, an advanced symbol in Word, and then just find where the accent is. So here's the accent for the capital E. And hit insert. And then you see there it is up there. So I can just use that and then copy and paste. All right, so here we go. So I have printable resume. That's great. And then if I want to change the color or the font style, I go into design. So again, you can choose all the different buttons here again, or you can just go, if you like the one that you've chosen, you can just go to customize design, fill color. I want to change it maybe to pink or something. Again, you could add here and go to other different colors if you wanted. Color, okay. And then I would click back out here, and I can also go to text to change the font. So here we go. I can do whatever font I want and just see what it looks like. Don't like that. Maybe that one. And then you can change the font size as well. So you can adjust that, and you can go bold or italics if you want also. So you can do all of those kinds of different things. And then finally, what you'd want to do is make sure that it links to something, right? So you can either have, again, link to the web address. I could paste in my blog there. If I wanted to link it to, say, my resume, then I would want to choose a document. So I would want to choose the file, either ones you've already uploaded in Wix, or you can just upload a document here. So I don't have my resume, but I'll do, say, the syllabus or something, and hit apply, and done. And then when you go to preview this, you will be able to see that this will link to the blog, new window, this will link to the blog, printable resume will link to a document. And I really suggest making sure that you have things in PDF so that they can't mess with spacing or people can't pull stuff out of it. So that maintains all of that. Okay, so that's a little bit about adding links and inserting documents. A couple of other things that you might want to do is perhaps make sure that you can get to something that's further down in the page. So if you have a long page, and some of you, I've mentioned this, like with your home page or something like that, that maybe only this part shows, but you really want people to see something that's down here or further on the page. In that case, what you'd want to do is add an anchor. So I'll go back to the editor. And this isn't a very long page, but I'll just give you an example. If you did have like several sections of the page and you don't know people would get down to that bio or those writing samples, or if you have different categories in your writing samples page and you don't know if they would scroll down to see the end of it, you can add an anchor. So go into, this is just the same thing as a bookmark in a Word document like we did with the internal linking there for the client project. So you go down to add, you go down to more. And again, if you want to do galleries and slideshows, that's here too. That's how you could like do the different pictures and add some text there as well if you want. Okay, so we're going to go to more, and then anchors. If you just want to put in an anchor, click here. If you want to actually show a menu off to the side, then you'd use one of these ones. We'll just do the basic anchor here. So I'm just going to click on anchor. And it's over here. If you ever, this gets annoying, by the way, you can always just hide the controls up there so you can see it better. And then you can just bring it back that way. So I'll just hide them for now. And I'm just going to scroll it down. I'm going to take it down to, the buy the books part here, something like that. Okay. And then I'm going to rename it buy books. Buy books. Okay. And this does not show up in the site, okay? But you'll know it's there in editing. And then I would want to, I'm going to bring back my controls. Then I'd want to, if I needed to have it scroll down, I'd want to add something that links to that, right? So again, maybe I'd add a button. So here's my button. Maybe I'll put it in between them here, something like that. Let's just pretend that this was further down. I'll put it up here so we can see it a little bit differently. It's going to be the same as anything. If you had different sections in your resume and you want to go to the education section, etc. So change your text. Buy books, again, you could change the font and the background and all of that. And then you're going to link it, add a link, and you're going to go to page or anchor. This is also how you would link to different pages, like from your bio. If you wanted to say, see my education page, this kind of thing, you would link the text to a page here. So you can also link to emails, all these kind of things. So the page here is going to be this page, but I'm going to do the anchor by books and done. Okay. So if I preview this, if I click that, it'll take me down to that section, wherever I put the anchor. Okay. So that's great. And you can go back to top at the bottom if you had a really long page or something like that as well. And again, if you want, you can even create a little menu with the anchors, and that will then show up on the side, and people can just click through that way as well. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. Okay, so those are the main things with links and inserting documents, adding the accents to resumes, and hopefully that will help you a little bit. One other thing people have been mentioning is kind of having a hard time having to flip back and forth between the preview and this side to see how it looks all at once. One thing you can do is hit the zoom out. So the zoom out allows you to see it all at once, and it also allows you to move sections around really easily too of your site. So that's a nice little feature of the zoom out. And then if you just want to exit, you just click that and out it goes. This one's getting a little long, so I'll do the next video on how to do the social media image credits and those sorts of things.